I've been walking, well, it's about noontime now. Me and Steve walked way back in this piece of woods we were in the other day where it was, I found that big buck, and we get on that knoll and there was a track. Buck could come down across there, and I got Steve on that. It had snow in it. It snowed just about daylight. After daylight this morning, it snowed about pretty near an inch, so it's covering everything up. So I just struck off in the opposite direction, and I don't know, went about a half a mile or so. I see three running tracks. I had just seen a doe down on a knob, and I come down off a ridge, and that was from old tracks, but then I saw three running tracks. I knew it had to be a buck chasing a doe and a lamb or something, so I come up on this knob. I didn't go 100 yards on it, and I was up on this knob, and they were working around back and forth, and I looked over and I just see a deer go in a thicket over there. So I was trying to get around, and I looked back and I see it come back out, so I kind of scooted behind this blowdown and got down, and I see the buck come out, and he went down in the bottom. He stood there, and he just bounced back up where that doe went, but they're behind a kind of a green knob. I got a kind of a hard chance. I don't know if they'll come back this way, but I'm going to try to get around the back side of this and stay in the green. Maybe they're playing around that valley on the other side. I see he had a decent rack on it. I don't know how big it is. I got to get over there and see if I can get a better look at it. See if I can show them to you. I just see the buck chasing the doe down off the other ridge, and now I got this four or five of them coming. Here comes a running doe. I think the buck might be coming. There's 4 or 5 does right here. I ain't seen the buck yet. There was one doe walked up just below me here, about 50 yards on this ridge, and I see some other ones coming. I see the buck chase the doe down there, but then I saw him turn in there, and 4 does come out down below just a minute ago. Does and lambs. They were bleating and stuff. But evidently that buck's got that other doe. Must be in heat. He must be chasing her somewhere else down there. I gotta get down there. If I can get on that track. Them other ones seem to have split off now. See what happens here. Pretty exciting. Well, I finally got things figured out. There was 5 does, 5 or 6 down there, and I thought the buck had chased him down in there. I could see him running in the way in the bottom, and I had made a big circle to try to figure out his track, and I couldn't see it. I figured I gotta circle the whole thing. I went back to where I'd seen the buck up on the ridge with that other doe, and we had about a power flurry there. I don't know, maybe a half an inch of snow, and all the tracks was filled in. I got right back to where I'd kind of last seen him go up behind this ridge. And there's his track. Not a flake of snow, and he was there. If I'd have kept going over that way, he was there, but I didn't know. When I went to circle that ridge, and I tried to get around him, and I saw them does running. I thought he was chasing them. They were blatting kind of, so. But anyways, I got it figured out. He's just come down out of that group, and he's crossed a little wet bog. He's out in the hardwoods, and he just picked up another deer track he's following, so I got to go along and see what's happening. Should be able to catch up to him. Hopefully I can get a look at him again. Well, I'm gonna have to give up on this boy. I don't think he's what I want anyways. He just went through between 2 trees there, and I don't know, it might have been 16 inches between them there. I could see his rack with binoculars, but it seemed like it went up kind of high, but evidently it's not very wide. Didn't stand out to me to be anything huge for a rack anyway, but I could just see it through the whips back there. But he's headed east and the truck is west. A long way. I don't know how far. I'm going to get the GPS out, but I'm going to let this guy go. Safe for another day. Up on a doe and a lamb up here laying on this ridge. I just got started this morning. Don't see no buck around. Good day for tracking if I can cut a track. So far I haven't found any big tracks I wanted to take. So I'll keep going. I just hiked back in about 2.5 miles on this hiking trail, and I don't know, I ain't not probably several hundred yards up from the trail now. I see these deer, so good sign. They're in here somewhere. Bound to be a buck cruising somewhere through here. After I filmed those couple of does there, I bopped up onto the next knob, I don't know, a couple hundred yards, and I found me a buck track. It looks pretty decent for here. I'm still not used to these tracks in the Adirondacks, but dragging his feet, toes are pointed out, decent print, you know. So anyways, it was made in the night. It's the first decent track I've seen that was made in the night. It's got, I don't know, we've had some snow by daylight and early this morning, but there's that amount of snow in it. I don't know what time it's getting late here. Yeah, it's noontime, and he's headed south, but the truck's north, so I gotta give him a go at it for a while. Maybe he'll get tangled up with some does. But that's all I got going on, so gotta do it. That track I was on was headed south too much. Yeah, and so I cut off in it. I didn't go very far, and I cut another track about the same size, decent track, headed northeast the way I wanted to go. And following that one, we had some snow showers when I was walking in, so there's no snow and it was fresh. He was plodding along, shagging for does, and I got up on this ridge up here, and I started seeing some running tracks, but his was still walking. And I saw 2 tracks running. I see one that looked like a big track, and I said, that's got to be another buck chasing the doe. So I eased down over the ridge on it here, and I got down to the bottom of this green growth, and them bucks must have caught up because they fought right here. Ground's all tore up, just happened. I missed it. I don't know how much I missed it by, but not much. But I got to figure out who lost and who won and which way they went. If I can make something happen down here. It's getting pretty thick. I think I'm down the edge of this brook in here, or in the edge of the hardwood and the softwood, but I got to tiptoe around here. See what happens. It's all smashed up in here. Logs are busted. down over the hill, busted that stuff up. They must be 2 mature bucks, I'd say. Well, I just shot this buck. After the buck fight there, they kind of went, all three, the 2 bucks and the doe went for a little bit together, and the other one peeled off. I don't know, whichever one lost the fight peeled off. I don't know if this buck's the one I was on to begin with or the other one, but this buck went with the doe and went down around this edge of this swamp there, and I was just poking easy looking. I figured they started feeding, they'd be right here. And I caught him feeding. I couldn't see the doe, but I could see him. He's feeding down this opening. Looks like an 8-pointer. I looked with my glasses, it looked pretty good. I was a little ways off, and he was kind of head on. He put his head down to feed, and I let him have it right on the top of the back there, and he dropped right there. Let's go over and look at him. There he is. Not no monster, but he's a pretty buck. Well, finally caught up to the boy. And say, old boy, he's not a real big buck. I thought he was an 8, but he's got no brow points. He's a 6. But anyways, happy with him. First Adirondacks buck. I've been tracking a few around here, and it's kind of hard for me to get used to the size of the tracks. I've seen a spike horn that had good sized feet, and some of these other bucks that are rubbing their horns. This one was chasing a doe, and he's with a doe, and it's a little different than hunting back home. But anyways, he's a pretty nice little buck. My first one here. I'm a long way back in, so I think I'm gonna have to leave him somewhere on the way out for the night. But I'll get him dressed off and start making my way out. It's a long way. I gotta get going. Well, I'm back up. I had to leave my buck in the woods last night. Time I got it out and got ready to drag, I looked at my GPS. It was 1.84 miles, almost 2 miles through the woods to the truck, up and down a lot of ridges. So I figured I better find the best way to drag would be, I don't know, it's about 3/4 of a mile down to one of the hiking trails, and then it's over 2 miles back out, would make about 3 miles. So anyways, I left him in the woods. It was 2 o'clock. I knew I had a long way to go, and I got thinking about it on the way out, because it was quite a rough going even that 3/4 of a mile down to the trail. So I come back in this morning with one of my packs, and I'm gonna cut him up and pack him out. I'm gonna go back out like the 1.84 through the woods with my pack frame with the meat and the horns. So I'm gonna have a sandwich here. It's almost noontime. We hunted in through. I got tried to find a track for Steve, hunting my buddy Steve here. We was trying to cut a track for him. Kind of a funny thing happened, because this was the buck that won the fight. I think what happened was he caught up to the other buck that was chasing the doe and won the fight and run him off, because this buck, after we looked at the tracks this morning, this buck is the same track I followed yesterday. The other one's a little bit smaller track. We got here within 200 yards of my buck, and there was 2 sets of running tracks chasing out, and I had told Steve last night, I said, I think that doe will go try to get with the other buck. She wants to be bred. So, and that's what happened, I believe. They had run out like maybe within the last couple hours, real fresh track, and they're heading off kind of in an easterly direction. But we followed them a ways. First we thought we might have jumped them, but we didn't. They were chasing quite a bit there. So Steve's on that buck, and see what he can do on it. Like I said, I'm going to get skinning, quartering, and packing, and try to make it out by dark. I think I can do it. This buck might not be the biggest one in the woods, but he had one of the bigger tracks that I've seen since I've been hunting up here. So it's kind of a new experience for me. The first, I hunted a couple days last year, but I really hadn't give it a good try. So I think we've been 6 days here this time, and I just had to face the fact the tracks ain't like back in Maine. They're smaller tracks, and it's kind of hard to judge for me what one might look like, But anyways, my first Adirondack buck, and there's nothing like being in the big woods, just roaming around. You never know what's going to happen from day to day, what you might see. I was only on that track for, I think, an hour and a half after I picked that track up. I'd shot him, so you never know. And we never really even got started in yesterday. We went to another place, and the snow had piled up so deep. We decided to come back down here where it was, a little less snow. I think we started walking in at 10 o'clock in the hiking trail, and so you never know. You got to get out of the truck and you got to hunt. Every day's a new day, new beginning, fresh slate, whatever you want to call it. And can't get discouraged. Hey, you might be walking along. I've done it many a times. Walk all day and stumble right across a smoking fresh track, and the buck's 1/4 of a mile away. Happens sometimes. Other days you get on a track, you think everything's going to go good, and he might take you 10 miles, and you might never catch up to him, or you might never see him. But you see a lot of interesting stuff along the way. A lot of good country, other animals. But like I said, there's nothing like being in the big woods and just having that experience. I walked in here this morning. After I left Steve there, I walked over to where my buck was laying, and there was a pine marten on the gut pile. He was running off with a big hunk of lung or something there, storing it probably up in a tree somewhere for the winter. He's going to have a long, rough winter, so hey, that gut pile is going to help out some of the other creatures around, birds and fisher and marten, whatever else there is to clean things up here. So nothing goes to waste in nature. Next spring the squirrels will be gnawing on those bones. That's enough philosophering, I guess. I'm gonna make a fire because that meat's cold, and it's fairly cold out this morning. It was about 20 when I left, so windy, cloudy, no sun. So I'm gonna build a fire. My hands get warm and they get cold. Skin, and I can get my hands warmed up. I got some fine spruce limbs. They'll catch right on fire good. I got some dead fir limbs here. That'll all take right off. Those spruce and fir limbs that are down underneath, they're always dry. A rainstorm, you can start a fire with that stuff. But I'm gonna get me a little stockpile of wood here and set it aside. Get a good bed of coals. I put some hardwood underneath, and that'll catch eventually. Oh, I got a good fire going here. Beautiful. I'll start skinning out, packing. I'll show you how we gotta quarter them up here in the woods. Usually we don't ever have to do it back home. We drag them out, but boy, this is pretty rough country back in here. It'd be quite a chore for one guy to drag one out of here, even two guys. Got the shoulder and the hind quarter off one side. I'm going to pull the back straps out of here. Some good victuals. A little bit of scrap here for the martens and fishes. Nice vittles and backstraps. Well, we got all the meat off of him. Now it's just time to cut the head off, and I got it all caped here. There's just one combination in there to separate that. Just one combination in there. There's a where the back of the skull goes into the top neck vertebrae. You can get your knife in there and just kind of pop the tendons out and get it out. I took care of this whole buck with just a knife, no meat saw, just a knife. We do moose the same way. We don't have to, you just gotta, if you know where the joints are in the legs and neck joint, you can do it all with a good sturdy knife. Nice having a fire going here. It's kept it warm. I'm in a little hole here and stayed nice and warm. My hands cleaned up here a little bit. I'll load these bags. I separated my meat in different bags, and I'll put it all in one bag, lash it on my pack, and we'll get going. Well, made it back to the truck. It's took me just about 2 hours to pack him out. Probably walked good 2.5 miles the way I came. Been down a few ridges, stopped a couple times for some water, and kept plodding along. Didn't think that was too bad for an old man. Well, I don't know where we're off to next. We'll see what happens, see what the weather does. Keep chasing the snow.